What is going on, people? It's Matt from Liquid Loans. In this one, I have one half of a great duo who are killing it on the old YouTubes, although they've taken their foot off the gas a bit in this bear market. So I wanted to bring one of them on, talk about, is PulseChain the next 1000x? And I want to get into the deepest and most philosophical question in cryptocurrency and blockchain tech. Obviously, when moon. So with no further ado, Brandon from A Million or the Moon. What is going on, buddy?
Hey, Matt, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. I've been enjoying your content. I enjoyed your last video, which was you're very bullish on Pulse, but you're very funny. And actually, there was some things that some serious topics that I think you've been addressing. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and by the way, if you want to give me like a 5-minute head start before we start here, we can cover my appearance fee. I accept Celsius, Solana, Terra Luna. If we can just cover that before we get started.
Yeah, sure. Luna, I've got quite a bit of that, so I'll send some over to you.
Okay, perfect. Right on. Yeah. No, but yeah, man. No, thanks a lot for having me on. Look, I'm just a guy who's been trying to learn what it takes to succeed in this crypto space. And even though, I've learned a lot of lessons, a lot of wisdom in order to kind of figure out what it takes to succeed and find financial freedom, while that's well and good, I've mainly been focusing on fat activism as of recent. As you're well aware, there's nothing medically wrong with being fat. And so I've just been kind of, fighting the good fight and taking the torch against those who discriminate wrongly against fat people. I've been going to Lizzo concerts. I've been wearing, my shirt in pools and stuff. So just kind of fighting the good fight.
It's important work, and not enough people are doing it. So I do take my hat off to you for getting out there into the wokosphere and giving them hell. But I mean, before we get into that, before we get into when you're going to dye your hair pink or blue, you've got a crypto channel, you and your partner, and it's got over 35K. You're doing well. You've got a solid, good following, a good community. How did you guys get that? Obviously, you're both very handsome and model-like, but obviously, tell us the deets on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've been in this market. Well, we've been YouTubers since like the beginning of this bull cycle 2020. So we've seen it all. We've seen all these different narratives come and go. And look, in all honesty, I think the key to growth is being able to talk about different things. Talking only about the RH ecosystem, only Hex, is great and all, but the unfortunate part is that when you do that, you don't tap into different ecosystems. Like me and Messin found that, unfortunately, making a top 5 video where you mention Cardano and then throw in Hex is how you tap into a Cardano audience. Doing a technical analysis breakdown on VeChain is how you tap into that audience in order to expose them to something that perhaps you think is more fundamentally sound. Like, in my opinion, the Richard Art ecosystem. So for the pure sake of growth, I think it's important to talk about many different cryptocurrencies, talk about this ecosystem. And I think doing that is in part why we've seen, some of the success we've had.
That's a really, really interesting way to look at it. And obviously it's working because the numbers don't lie. I don't like maxis, whether we're talking about Bitcoin maxis or Hex maxis, and they literally just get this narrow, view of the world, and that's it. They won't take anything else on. And even, obviously we were joking earlier, we're laughing about, Celsius and Luna, but obviously a lot of people did get burnt there. And I don't agree with dancing on graves. And I saw a lot of that, with hexagons. And they're just laughing and saying, you should have invested in RH and what's not. And that's not how you get people into your ecosystem, right? I'm sure you know that as a YouTuber, as an influencer. You don't get people on your side, not only with crypto, but in anything in life, by berating them and telling them they're wrong, right?
Usually, for most people, yes, I would agree that for the vast majority of people, that is not a helpful take. Although, for me personally, that's actually a tactic that quite works.
Okay.
I mean, but I'm not the majority. If you people act on emotions, and if you attack them, their instinct is to reply emotionally. So I would agree that that's not kind of the best tactic to go about things. But look, kind of the point is, like, there's some Hex streamers who are super knowledgeable. But the problem is that if you only talk about Hex, you only ever reach a Hex audience. I mean, there's so many people who deserve to learn about Hex and hear about Hex, and even PulseChain, PulseX, and Liquid Loans, and all these other great protocols that are launching on PulseChain. But if you only talk about Hex, you're not tapping into that YouTube algorithm, that's in the XRP niche, that's in the Cardano niche, that's in the Solana niche. You unfortunately have to find a way to put Solana in the title or whatever in the thumbnail just in order to reach that audience in the first place. Because if you only ever talk about Hex and don't make an attempt to reach out, you're unfortunately never going to reach that audience, which deserves to hear about Hex and deserves to hear about Liquid Loans and PulseChain and all these other wonderful things happening on PulseChain.
Yeah, I mean, you end up just preaching to the converted, and it becomes, you know, a bit of a circle jerk. So the way that you're doing it, I think, you know, is the way everyone in the Hex and PulseChain community should be, you know, reaching out, obviously building bridges, talking about different projects, and then obviously tagging on Hex. But before we go any further, you said that you're the opposite, right? You do learn by getting berated. In what sense do you mean?
Well, being very direct kind of works for me. Like I just appreciate that understanding. Like I used to be in the military, and I work construction as well. So I'm extremely used to very direct language, no beating around the bush. And so when someone tells me, "Hey, you're wrong, and this is exactly why," with nothing to care about your emotions, I, just because of my personal life experience, happen to react well to that. But I understand that that's not the case for most people. So, I mean, look, me and Messin all the time, we have these, you know, conversations, debates, and, you know, we're very, very upfront with each other. And a lot of the time, you know, couching people's emotions kind of gets in the way, I find sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, different horses for different courses. I wish we could speak more directly to people, but you know, especially when someone's just lost maybe, you know, 50 grand, 100 grand in Celsius or Luna, I think laughing at them and saying them, hey, you should have invested in Hex is like, who's going to be willing to look into another cryptocurrency?
Yeah. And I agree. Laughing at them probably doesn't work, but telling them directly, like, hey, at least this would work for me. Hey, man, what you did was stupid, and this is why. And that person goes on to explain it and tells them what the risks were, how those risks manifested, how there's a better solution, why this particular solution does not have these particular risk factors, and why this solution is perhaps unlikely to follow the same faults that what Urain had. And just doing that extremely directly would personally work for me, which is, again, you know, something I've been having some trouble with personally, because I'm usually a very direct person, and I got to try and remember to you know, consider person's emotions when talking about this stuff. But
yeah, I mean, obviously, I guess what you have to do in those scenarios is, I mean, making content can be, obviously you've got different audiences, but especially on one-on-ones or in groups, I guess you've got to read the room, right? And see, are these people snowflakes and they needed a bit of hand holding and like it's going to be fine, or are these guys alphas and they need to be told, hey, this is it, you know, man up, and you know, let's get tooled up and let's go for it. So,
and, you know, yeah, sorry.
No, go for it, man. Go for it.
Well, I was going to say, you know, I feel like that kind of way of communicating is extremely undervalued. Like Richard Hart does that. I mean, you see Richard Hart go on Bitboy Crypto, these other channels. I mean, he doesn't mince words. He says exactly what he thinks, and it's frankly much needed. Because look, we're not allowed to swear here. Right? I'll try and avoid swearing as much as I can. But
it's okay, man. The old F-bomb isn't the end of the world.
Look, one of the things I've learned from watching these markets almost full time for the last 2 years is that nobody knows what they're talking about, and everyone is stupid. Literally nobody knows. Very, very few people know what they're talking about. And I'm referring to many of the large crypto influencers who shill certain narratives. Like, man, I've been in the space since beginning full time, really since the beginning of 2020. I've seen every narrative come and go. I don't know if you remember, but in the beginning of 2020, everyone and their mother thought that Bitcoin was going well over 100K. 200K, 300K was the norm, was conservative
super cycle,
price
right?
predictions. Absolutely. And then look what happened. We got nowhere close to 100K. And that speaks to the fact that, you know, many times what drives this market is narratives. And you got to be extremely careful to not buy into certain narratives. It's important to understand that narratives are a large part of what drives much of this market. But it's important to not dogmatically subscribe to certain narratives, because if you do, well, then you find yourself mistiming the market when Bitcoin tops off at 65K and then 69.
Yeah, I think what you just said is right on the money. Crypto influencers are full of confident idiots, right?
Yes.
So they're it's the blind leading the blind. So in 2020, we heard about, listen, it's stock to flow, you know, 100K minimum, but we could even see 500,000, right? That was some of the narratives being thrown around.
Oh yeah.
So people were thinking, okay, great. I put in a couple of grand. That's a couple of mil or whatever, or 1.5 mil. So, you know, it was just crazy to see that. And then obviously we had that first top in May 2021. And then that kind of, I think Richard calls it a Judas candle was it November last year? where it went back
October,
up
yeah.
and it made it a new all-time high, but then it's just been waterfalling down to where are we now? 22,000 or something like that.
23,480.
So, you know, all these people, Bitboy and all these guys with big audiences were screaming like, you know, minimum 6 figures. And you're right. I agree. It's all speculation. All these people, and obviously there's people on YouTube and social media who have a more objective view, like Richard Hart, and you know, listening to them, and obviously listening to getting your stuff off centralized exchanges, using hardware wallets, all that stuff. But that's the minority, right? The majority of crypto is, hey, I'm going to tell you about these projects, which I'm being paid to do, and here's my referral link for Bybit, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, man, I was one of these guys too. I have had a massive evolution in my thought process and how I approach this market over the last 2 years. I mean, I began as a YouTuber talking about, you know, investing in any new bullshit ICO and active day trading. And I've grown to evolve to kind of really ditch very active day trading and just focus on kind of long-term investing, because it's just a much better risk reward ratio. And there's much more we can delve into that as well. But look, I was one of these guys who fell for that narrative. I mean, I thought back in 2020, I was saying on my YouTube channel, I believed in 20, 30K Ethereum this cycle. And I was wildly wrong, because I subscribed to these narratives without considering exactly when a narrative is useful and when it isn't, and also taking into account other factors other than a narrative to try and find when a narrative may be invalid. Like, for example, following the market. You know, the market will tell you, regardless of whatever narrative you have, when there's signs of weakness, when there's you know, signs of strength. And by the way, for those of who say technical analysis doesn't work, how did Richard Hart time the top if technical analysis doesn't work? So I've kind of attempted to keep what's been useful over the last couple of years, you know, some understanding of technical analysis, and throw away what's not, which is active day trading, focus more on long-term investing. And so, yeah, man, no, there's been a lot of lessons learned, a lot of evolution over the last 2 years. It's been a while.
Yeah, in regards to TA, you know, when you first look at, you know, a chart or even go into a centralized exchange, it's like, oh my God, this is a spaceship. What the hell's going on here? And then you see all these indicators. And myself, I find that there's a few core indicators that I think work, like moving averages, the MACD, the fib retracements. And again, they're not perfect, but a lot of the time, you know, they do go back, especially that 0.168 on the Fibonacci retracement tool. So yeah, life is nuanced, and crypto is nuanced. It's so easy to be like, do this, don't do that, right? Black and white. And I guess that's because so many people coming into crypto are newbies, and it's too overwhelming. It's already overwhelming buying crypto on exchange, never mind seed phrases and MetaMask and, you know, technical analysis. So a lot of these channels, they're pretending to be your friend. They're pretending to be like, hey, I'm here for you. But really, they're just like, I'm giving you the most basic stuff, breaking it down to beginner level, and, you know, basically, you know, give me your money. So yeah, that's a lot of the time what it is. But how did you get into crypto, man? What's your story with that?
Oh, well, look, I've been trying to break into the world of finance. Really, I've been trying to break into the world of not being poor for my whole life, for many years, for the better part of a decade. Now that I think back to it, I mean, I remember even in high school, I was sitting in class with my laptop, just looking at the stock market, not paying attention to class. So, like, I bought my first stock. It was Microsoft at $32. I think it was back in 2015 ish, something like that. I had a garage sale, sold all my toys, whatever I had, like just in the closet somewhere, and bought Microsoft stock. And so I've always just been interested in business, always just been interested in the idea of not being poor forever. And so eventually I just kind of kept looking at it, but, you know, I didn't really have, I don't want to say a good teacher, but just any avenue to kind of realistically show me a path towards success in the world of finance. It wasn't until I actually met Messin, which is my partner at Adam and the Moon, working at a wind farm where we were building the largest windmills in all of North America, that we kind of, in working together, he was an engineer. I used to build the towers. We started talking about technical analysis and investing. And then eventually after that project, after quite some time. Like I believe I hit him up on Instagram. He gave me a course on technical analysis, and after I went through it a couple months, I hit him up. I said, "Hey man, I've gone through this course. I've been looking more into the world of investing. What do you think?" And so eventually we got together. We started talking. We started looking at stocks, and then we kind of heard about crypto back in early 2020, maybe 2019. And we started talking, probably 2019. We started talking about it more and more. And then eventually we just started looking into the market, kind of dabbling. And then, started 2020. That's when we started dabbling into crypto, buying crypto here and there, trading a little bit here and there. And it's been a wild journey since then. But really, my ultimate goal is to find financial freedom. And I feel extremely lucky to have found the PulseChain Richard Hart ecosystem, including all these other wonderful projects building on PulseChain. Because look, man, I've found a great deal of success over the last 2 years. I've found a great deal of failure over the last 2 years, and I've learned quite a lot. I've learned how extremely difficult it truly is to find a play with not only great upside, but great fundamentals. I mean, there's plays in crypto all the time that 100x, but they're so wildly speculative and unproven niches. And then there's more solid plays, arguably, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, that will be here for the next 10, 20 years. But if you're a working class person, they're not going to fundamentally change your life. To find the combination of something that is of high quality and has high return on investment potential is so extremely rare. I've only ever done it once, really, in 2 years of actively watching this market when I invested in Matic Polygon. I got a 100x out of that, my first 100x. And to find something of that quality that has both high ROI potential and, again, we can argue the fundamentals, but arguable longevity is extremely rare. And I believe we've found a similar opportunity here with PulseChain. And it's so goddamn rare to find that. And so once I found that, once I realized the opportunity we have at hand with PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, and of course these other protocols, I decided to go all in on this one niche. I mean, we used to talk about on the channel VeChain, ETH, all these other altcoins on a regular basis. And ever since I really discovered the opportunity in this space, I've personally been focusing almost exclusively on this ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, your last video, obviously, like I said, I enjoyed the humor, but you're super bullish on PulseChain, obviously. And the kind of feeling I got from you you kind of felt like a lot of people are still underestimating this. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like, man, one of the many reasons why I'm so bullish on Hex is a similar reason why I'm so bullish on PulseChain and PulseX is because so much of the traditional crypto market still does not get Richard Hart, still dismisses this ecosystem, and wrongly so. Because if you're able to just look past the surface level in his shiny suit and actually look at what the smart contract is and what the smart contract says, which is actually what's important, you realize that, oh, wait, this is actually extremely fundamentally sound. It's immutable, extremely bullish tokenomics on both the Hex, PulseX, and PulseChain front. This is actually extremely sound. So who cares what the surface level is of Richard Hart? Look past it. I mean, look, if you were to examine the personal lives of the vast majority of crypto founders, there would be tons you could find that you wouldn't personally like about their lives. It's just the fact that Richard Hart is very vocal and transparent and honest about who he is, that it's easy to find the things that you don't like, and therefore it's easy to find an excuse to not invest in that ecosystem. But I bet if you examine Vitalik's life, there's a video game, or he plays that you don't like. Anyways, there's tons of excuses to not like a founder. It's just that Rich is very public, that it's therefore very easy to find things not to like. But again, if you're just able to look past that surface level, you realize the fundamentals are sound. Well, then what you realize is that there's tremendous alpha here, because money ultimately goes where money's best treated. And it's just a matter of time before the word gets out there, because there's only so much gatekeeping you can do. I mean, with these coin ranking sites, I mean, how long can that truly last? A year, 5 years, 10 years? How long is it going to take before the word truly gets out and people find the fundamentals instead of just the surface level and realize what's going on here? So there's this massive dichotomy between the fundamentals and how the majority of the rest of the crypto market views this space. And because there's that massive dichotomy there's massive opportunity. I mean, imagine, people might not like Cardano, but Cardano, price appreciation wise, did extremely well, regardless of the fundamentals. Imagine if you had found Cardano, but it had been completely suppressed and utterly dismissed for 2 years, and you realize that it's just a matter of time before that situation changes. That would be a massive, massive opportunity. And that's the exact opportunity we have here with the PulseChain kind of Richard Hart ecosystem.
Do you think if Richard Hart was more Charles Hoskinson, that the RH ecosystem would be even more adopted? What's your take on that?
I mean, who knows, man? There's definitely an argument that Charles Hodgkinson type people are more easily accepted, the more they seem more credible. But even if RH was more like a Charles, I mean, I'm not necessarily sure for selfish reasons that I would like that, because because Richard Hart is who he is. Well, that allowed someone like me to get in early and reap above average market returns, because everyone else was slow to pick up what's going on over here. So, look, you can't tell the future, and but I'm frankly happy that people like these large crypto channels have dismissed Hex, because it allowed someone like me to get in early and reap above average market returns. Although I would like to know, I don't know if you noticed this, Bitboy Crypto is very smart in a particular way, because he's starting to come around to Richard Hart. I've noticed this, that Bitboy Crypto is starting to send out tweets being more and more positive about Richard Hart and PulseChain. And I believe he's gearing up to be kind of open-minded towards PulseChain, because I'm pretty sure he's sacked, and I'm pretty sure he realizes how wrong he called the Richard Hart ecosystem, and he's starting to take steps to backpedal. Because look, man, as a YouTuber, one of the biggest value propositions we have as a YouTuber is our credibility. And if you are wildly, wildly wrong about a massive opportunity, that speaks very ill of you. And so as these YouTubers start to realize that they called Richard Hart wrong, it's going to be very fun to see them try and backpedal. And we're starting to notice that, I believe, with Richard Hart trying to be more positive on Twitter, saying positive things, Bitboy is. And so it's going to be an interesting evolution. I think we're going to have to start to see a lot of these YouTubers deal with trying to backpedal about being wrong about Richard Hart. It's hilarious. I mean, like, these guys, they're all shilling Terra Luna, Solana, Celsius, and it's all crashing and burning. I mean, the crypto space outside of the Richard Hart ecosystem is a massive dumpster fire. I mean, these people are just starting to realize that centralized yield solutions are highly problematic. If only there was a solution for decentralized yield, wouldn't that be great? And it's just a matter of time before these people figure it out, because it's going to get to a point where it's too embarrassing to ignore. And I love and find it really funny that we're starting to see some influencers attempt to backpedal here, and we're seeing Bitboy Crypto do it.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a change in Bitboy Crypto. First off, and this is way before the bear market came in, I think someone collated all his calls in the last 2020, 2021 kind of bull market and did the returns. And I think all of them were like minus 80-90%, so all of the paid sponsor videos he did were all just basically rugs, or not, maybe not full on rugs, but the price looks like a rug.
Oh yeah.
And then he's definitely changed his tune on Twitter. He's very much, he's always tagging Richard in stuff, and he's seems quite
he knows he's wrong, and he needs to attempt to backpedal and not look stupid. And it's hilarious watching these people do it, because us as YouTubers, we know exactly what they're doing. They're attempting to backpedal because they don't want to look stupid. And it's frankly hilarious.
Here's what they're doing, right? They're pretending to give Richard props, but really they don't give an F about Richard. They care about their brand, right?
Oh, they want the viewership. Yeah.
So they're like, I even saw Altcoin Daily. I don't know if you saw that the other day. They did a tweet and they're like, "What do you think about Hex?" ? And stuff. And those guys, right? I think they were one of the worst ones saying.
He kills me.
So it's very interesting, and I think we all need some good news anyway, right? Because obviously the PulseChain delay, we're in a bear market. It's good to see that adoption is happening, and these idiots really who have been getting everyone wrecked are obviously coming around, because they can't not deny it, right? I think there's a book that's titled, and I think it's quite relevant here, "Be So Good They Can't Ignore You." Yeah. And I think that's what's happening when Richard's, love him or hate him, his calls about Celsius, his market calls, it's kind of like he's predicting the future a lot of the time. And yeah, a lot of these guys are trying to get on the boat before it's really taken off, and it's no longer in sight.
Oh, I love it. They all called Hex a scam. It's a decentralized yield solution. Meanwhile, promoting something like Celsius completely and utterly collapses, and these people, zero sense of irony, zero sense of reflection. It's truly hilarious, and it speaks to the fact that really, again, nobody knows what they're talking about. No, like, again, it's hyperbole. Any blanket statement, I was going to say any blanket statement is always incorrect, but that in and of itself is a blanket statement. But you get what I'm trying to say here.
Let's be fair. Like, 9 out of 10 people on YouTube talking about crypto are literally just pulling it out of their rear, right?
I mean, the Moon Carl is literally just a channel built to funnel people towards Bybit. It's a business model built to funnel people towards Bybit. It's hilarious. And like, I used to have a Bybit link on the channel a year and a half ago, some long time ago, back when we were actively trading. But it wasn't until one of the major crashes where we looked at kind of where all the liquidations were. There's this one website called Bybit. It's spelled differently than the leverage trading exchange Bybit. Anyways, you can see where all the liquidations are. And guess what the number one exchange was for liquidations? It was Bybit. That's where all the retail traders go. It's where they all get chilled. And we're like, okay, man, we can't. Like, we're just,
and that dude's riding around Dubai in a Lamborghini. Oh no, sorry, a Bugatti.
Right? Oh yeah, because he makes money based off the volume. He doesn't care if you win or lose. He knows very well that the vast majority of people trading are going to lose. The vast majority, and he doesn't care because he he makes money off the volume. And it's a great business model, even though it's he's getting his viewership wrecked. But it's just funny once you understand this businessman, how
it's just leading lambs to the slaughter, because what he does is his marketing is check out the Bugatti, check out the Lambo, check out the 6-star apartment in Dubai. This is from Bitcoin trading, right? Yeah. No, it's not.
No,
that's from wrecking your subscribers.
Making millions monthly. Yeah, he makes a lot of money based off those links.
It's disgusting, man.
Yeah, we took it on. Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, I could go on about these guys all day, but let's move it onto a positive note, because talking about the future. When PulseChain mainnet, in your opinion? Everyone wants to know. Everyone loves a bit of speculation.
I think it's extremely obvious when PulseChain comes out, the next major Bitcoin dip. I mean, look, Richard is saying he's not timing the market. There is a very obvious rationale for Richard to very publicly state that he's not timing the market. He does not want to invite regulatory scrutiny. And one of the best ways to do that is to very publicly state every chance he gets that he's not timing the market. But if he just so happens to launch PulseChain, the next major Bitcoin dip, what do you think he's obviously timing the market. Richard Hart is smart. Richard Hart's one of the most intelligent people in crypto. He knows these markets. There's clips of him saying, back when launching Hex, saying how important it is to launch near bottom, because then you just have a hockey stick pattern and you don't have resistance all the way up. We all know that Richard knows this. And so, there's a minimum viable product, and then there's more. And what's probably going on is that Richard is, telling his team, hey, keep optimizing. And then wouldn't it be just some massive coincidence, the next major Bitcoin dip, that's when we get PulseChain. So I think there's a very solid chance that Richard's timing the market.
He's got his finger on the button, basically waiting for 11K.
I mean, he could say, oh, I didn't time the market and launch it at 14, right? But the point is, wouldn't it be some massive coincidence? I mean, we all kind of understand that next major Bitcoin dip, oh, isn't it a coincidence? Now we have PulseChain.
Yeah. I heard him on a Twitter space deny that, but I'm sorry, man. Someone who's that smart, he was saying, I haven't even really thought about it. I've been so busy. It's like someone that smart. Come on. Like,
now, there's clips of him talking about this back when launching Hex. He's extremely smart. He understands these markets like very few people do. He's timing the market.
Yeah, I mean, if you take what everyone says at face value, and that's not just Richard Hart, that's everyone in life, then you must have been born yesterday, because of course, everyone's trying to work an angle, and it's obviously going to be good for the chart. It's going to be good for the ecosystem. It's going to be good for everyone that's sacrificed. When first 1000x, then, in your opinion, let's say end of September, the market hits 13K on Bitcoin, we launch. What's your opinion on, because your last video was about PulseChain being a 1000x coin?
So this is a very, very interesting question. And this is actually one of the biggest debates me and Messi have been having behind the scenes, is how can one reasonably think of price predictions on PulseChain and PulseX, because what we have seen in this market is kind of layer one smart contract blockchains do extremely well, seeing hundreds of X, thousands of X growth. But with that being said, PulseChain is unique in that it has raised a much larger amount than those projects who have seen that 100x, 1000x growth have in the past. So, in my opinion, that is the biggest risk factor to kind of PulseChain's growth. PulseChain raised, I think it was just under $1 billion before Richard came in, or the OA came in, right? So let's just call it $1 billion, right? Well, if you look at kind of what the trading volume is compared to the total supply of other cryptocurrencies, I've found that around 10 to 20% of a cryptocurrency's total market cap is traded on any given day. So if you just consider what people sacked aside from the originators, let's just say, there was $1 billion worth for easy math. Okay, well, what's 10, 20% of that? 10% of that, let's say 100 million. Well, if you look at kind of Ethereum's market cap, Ethereum went all the way to just under 600 billion market cap. Let's say 500 billion market cap for easy math. So if what truly matters is the amount of supply that is traded on the market at any given day, because that's what affects the price. What affects the price is not the total supply. What affects the price is the supply that's traded on a given day. And if we assume that only 10 to 20% of that is going to be traded any given day, because that's usually what it is with Chainlink, Ethereum, other cryptocurrencies, let's just say 10%. Well, then that's going to be roughly $100 million worth of PulseChain traded every day, roughly. So if it's $100 million really determining the price here, and something like Ethereum reached let's say 500 billion, well, then 100 billion to 1 billion is a 10x, to 10 billion that's 100x, to 100 billion that's 1000x, to 500 billion that would be a 5000x. But if you assume 20%, let's cut that in half. Let's just say there's a rationale for a couple thousand x growth. But one of the largest determining factors, which we are currently unaware of, is the liquidity situation. So, you can come up with all these fancy ways to kind of extrapolate potential price predictions. But at the end of the day, until we know exactly what percentage of the total supply is being traded on a given day and what the liquidity situation looks like on the DEXs, that's really one of the largest determining factors, which will determine how price moves. And it's an unknown. So at this point, it's all really kind of wild speculation. Again, there's a rationale for, if a fraction of the total amount sacked is what's on the market on any given day, that we could see that kind of several thousand X price appreciation if we eventually reached a kind of market cap that Ethereum did. But then again, there's other people that say, hey, maybe it'll be a larger percentage. Maybe the Richard Hart coins will enter the market somehow. So until we kind of know some of these unknowns, then it's really just wild guessing. But at the end of the day, whether it's 100x or 1000x, this ecosystem, PulseChain, is one of the best combinations of both fundamentally sound and high ROI potential that I have seen. Because sure, there's probably some metaverse play, NFT play out there that can probably see 100x, 1000x by the top of the next cycle. But those niches are so unproven, so risky. There is such a strong track record of layer one smart contract blockchains being such strong performers and getting in early, mattering quite a lot for your ROI, that something like PulseChain, even if we don't know if we're talking about 100x or 1000x, it's just such a superior investment choice compared to many other plays out there. Because again, the vast majority of plays either have high ROI potential or sound fundamentals. To have both is so rare. And again, we have that in PulseChain, and I don't know if it's going to translate to 100x or 1000x, but it's going to be one of the two, and either or are okay with me.
I mean, yeah. I wouldn't turn my nose down at any of them, but obviously people love, 1000x, and it's the only asset class that you can see insane gains like that. Obviously, we saw a lot more people sack for PulseX than we did for PulseChain. I guess, not as many people knew about it in the summer of 2021. And I think a lot of people sacked because they want to, you know, immediately swap that PulseX into PulseChain. What do you think about that? Do you think that's going to happen and that's going to pump the price at the beginning?
Yeah. So look, I think there's a very strong rationale for PulseChain pumping in the beginning, perhaps more so than PulseX or Hex, simply because, you know, a lot of people missed out on PulseChain. I personally, I sacrificed a little bit for PulseChain, but it wasn't until PulseX came around where, again, I did more and more research.
The
Where
penny
it was,
dropped.
yeah, it was with PulseX that I went all in. Every last penny to my name went into PulseX. Literally, like I will be broke and a homeless person if this doesn't work out. So, like, I'm not joking. So
only invest what you can afford to lose. Nobody invests what they can afford to lose.
I put my entire life savings, every line possible, access to credit. Like, I sold my car. Like, I went all in on PulseX.
Okay.
And so, but and point is, in terms of ratio trading, look, if you sacrifice for PulseChain or PulseX, you're already a winner. All you have to do to do well financially is nothing. So every action you take, you're exposing yourself to risk, unnecessary risk that you have to take. So if you're taking an action, you better be extremely confident of what you're doing. And so if you're going to be doing any kind of trading, ratio trading, really know what you're doing. And I'm personally not doing any kind of trading unless you have an extreme ratio, which a 1-to-1 ratio I would consider to be an extreme ratio, because there's a lot more PulseX and PulseChain. And so, you know, if there's a 1-to-1 ratio, I might consider swapping some PulseX for PulseChain. Now, if there's a 1-to-10 ratio, let's say, then I might consider swapping some PulseChain for PulseX. Now, why would I do that? Because if there's a 1-to-10 ratio, then you're essentially saying that I believe that PulseChain will 10x outperform PulseX forever in perpetuity, which I don't think is likely. In fact, I think there's a strong argument to be made that both could perform comparably, or that PulseX could perhaps even do better over the long term due to the buy and burn. So, you know, unless there's any kind of extreme ratio where you can be getting an outsized kind of opportunity, then I won't be doing much ratio trading, if at all. And guys, look, you can stake. If you stake PulseChain and it does 100x, 1000x, that 2%, whatever you're making a year, could end up being significant after 1000x. PulseX, we don't know what the staking rewards will be for PulseX, which, by the way, Richard, this is a tangent, but just real quick. Richard Art has spoken to how many different people in the last couple of months? Why is no one asking him about the PulseX staking rewards? It is absolutely insane that he has not spoken about the inflationary tokens tokenomics, because that will dramatically change the value proposition of providing liquidity of PulseX staking of the PulseX token. And this is like a major unknown part of the ecosystem, and everyone refuses to ask him this question. I'm flabbergasted. Wasn't there like a conference a couple weeks ago where a bunch of literally every
that one, right?
How did no one think to ask him about like the biggest unknown part of this ecosystem?
So you mean sorry to interrupt, you mean the single-sided staking pools for PulseX?
Yeah, with the inflationary token. We have no idea what the tokenomics are of the inflationary token. It's the fourth, fifth token of the ecosystem.
But we have no idea what the tokenomics are. I think there'll be multiple pools. Sorry to interrupt again. I think there'll be multiple pools.
Yes,
just like on PancakeSwap.
Yes, with other cryptocurrencies. But there will also presumably, unless this has changed, will be a single side staking pool for PulseX for the inflationary token. That was personally one of the things that made me go all in into PulseX. And so unless that's changed and I'm just not aware, then that's the situation. But my current understanding is that there will be a single side staking pool for PulseX for the inflationary token, and we have zero clue what the tokenomics are of that inflationary token. And it's the biggest unknown part of this ecosystem. Massively impacts the value proposition of providing liquidity and the value proposition of holding PulseX, and we don't know about it. And no one's asking about this. And it's really it's really
I want to hear about it. I sacked for PulseChain and PulseX, and I want to hear, because I used to do quite a lot of single-sided staking on PancakeSwap, and I like that. That was easy. Put your cake in there.
Over 100% for a while, for a long time.
Dude, it was pretty tasty. It was those syrup pools, no pun intended. They were good. You'd put some cake in there and get more cake, or you'd get whatever. You'd have a pair with cake and what's not. And it's free money, right? You're just parking your stuff there and you're getting this, and you can sell it, or you can add it, change it to BNB, buy something else. So yeah, I mean, I'm on the same page as you. I want to hear more about this PulseX staking, but is maybe people watching this now can be kind of enlightened to ask him if they get on a stream with him or on a Twitter space.
It's the biggest unknown part of the ecosystem.
Yeah. Somebody just asked here, can you single-side stake PulseChain? You can stake it with a validator, but not on like a single-sided pool. So you talked about ratio trading before. You're not going to be doing any of that. What is going to be your plan of attack, though, when mainnet goes live?
Yeah, sell my kidney for PulseChain. I mean, literally sell everything I can. I mean, you'll see me on the street with a sign saying spare change for PulseChain. Like, guys, look, this is literally not financial advice. I'm just some random dude. I could be totally wrong. Don't sue me. But this is the opportunity, very clearly the opportunity of a lifetime. And so I'm personally taking every step possible to make sure I can exploit this opportunity. Trying to collect as much dry powder as possible, exploring ways to leverage my understanding of this opportunity. That's just something I'm personally doing. I don't want to delve into details on that. But I mean, like, put it this way. If looking at what some of the best performers were in this market the past 2 years, Solana, Cardano, regardless of the fundamentals, just price appreciation. If you knew in advance that those cryptocurrencies were going to do what they did, what would you have done to prepare for that? Well, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm exploring every single possible opportunity. But to be more kind of specific, just staking, man. Like, stake PulseChain, stake PulseX, single-side staking pool. Liquid loans. Guys, you can earn an APY with liquid loans. I mean, one of my favorite books of all time when it comes to investing was The Richest Man in Babylon. And one of the most important lessons I learned in that book was the importance of acquiring productive assets that pay you a yield. Because what that book revealed is that it truly only takes a finite amount of times you do that, where you accumulate a productive asset that pays you a yield, before you can achieve your goals, whether that's to be able to pay your bills, financial freedom, generational, wealth. You just have to accumulate productive assets to pay you a yield. And that's exactly what liquid loans is. That's exactly what PulseChain is. It's exactly what Hex is, what PulseX is. And so it only takes a finite amount of times doing that, whether it's 1 year, it takes you 1 year to accumulate dry powder, 5 years, 10 years, enough to accumulate these productive assets. And that's the opportunity we have at hand, man. And by the way, everyone should read The Richest Man in Babylon, one of the greatest books on investing ever.
Yeah, going back to that book, I mean, forget about the different asset classes. It gives you timeless principles to live by. And what's great about DeFi and staking and yield farming and all this stuff, and if you're a bit more knowledgeable doing LP and what's not, is that, of course, having any asset class paying you is great, but if you've got real estate and stuff, there's maintenance, there's tenants, there's stuff to do. Here you literally click a few buttons and you're collecting tokens, which, as long as the market sees value in these tokens, then you can go and trade these in for stable coins and what's not. So it's so exciting, man.
Yeah, and crypto is such a superior asset class to everything else. I mean, I like to make fun of some of these larger YouTube channels when they talk about how like Uniswap is an interesting opportunity, because it's just these large channels focus on what's going to reap themselves and their viewers' average market returns. I'm not interested in average market returns. I'm interested in financial freedom. Therefore, you need to outperform the market. Therefore, you need to focus on what other people aren't focusing on, which the majority of the rest of the crypto space, while it might seem crazy to RH people, do not focus on this ecosystem, which great for us. That's alpha. That there's a dichotomy there, which again gives us an opportunity to outperform the market. But what was my original point there? I kind of got sidetracked. What was I trying to say?
We were talking about how exciting just DeFi is,
just about how this ecosystem is so superior. I mean, we're earning a yield in PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, Liquid Loans, and in assets that could potentially appreciate in value. I mean, when you have a home, you're earning a yield in dollars, an asset that's constantly losing its value. And if you look at the stock market, I mean, a normal return on investment in the stock market is 10, 15, 20%. If you make 20% a year in the stock market, you're doing like fantastic. In a
Mm.
bull, 20%. You make 20% in the morning. You make 20% eating breakfast. Like
Tuesday having coffee, you know what I mean? Between 10 and 11, you're up 20%.
it's crazy. And like I frankly, I bring this up because when I look at kind of some of these stock YouTubers, and I frankly feel like, man, they're doing their audience, some of their audience, a massive disservice. I mean, I remember the amount of time I wasted focusing on stocks. Like in my teenage years, oh my God, I was such an idiot in retrospect. I was focusing on stocks. If I would have just put, man, I started buying Microsoft in 2015. That was before the last bull cycle. If I would have just put that same amount of time into crypto, my God, we would be having this interview on a gold god. Like, and
But you
so
don't know what you don't know.
right. But I think the important takeaway is that this conversation matters. While I can joke around and talking about fat activism just to have a laugh, at the end of the day, this stuff is serious. And I take this extremely seriously. Because it truly impacts people's lives. I mean, we're not talking about football here. We're talking about stuff that will affect the financial livelihood of how many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. That's an important topic. It's important to get this right. And so, when I see other crypto YouTubers, stock YouTubers shill things that'll reap their audience average market returns, I know there's a version of me out there looking for financial freedom, and I know that the person's wasting their time looking at their bullshit. And so it saddens me that that happens, but it also makes me extremely grateful that I managed to find this ecosystem, and extremely grateful for the opportunity to be able to communicate the opportunity here.
Yeah, man, 100%. And that, brings me on to one of my last questions, which is, what are the goals for your YouTube channel?
Well, man, look, the YouTube channel is called A Million or the Moon. Me and Messon, we're trying to achieve financial freedom. And so we want to achieve financial freedom and help other people along the way. Hopefully, if we communicate our understanding, the lessons learned along the way, we can maybe help others do something similar. And I truly believe that with this rich art ecosystem of PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, even many of the projects building on PulseChain, there is the opportunity to find financial freedom. Getting in early on a project or a product is one of the most important factors that will determine one's potential return on an investment. Not to mention that we're in a space with extremely sound fundamentals. To find that combination of extremely sound fundamentals, high ROI, and getting in early is so goddamn rare, and is the recipe needed in order to outperform the market and find financial freedom. And so our hope is that we communicate that, continue to speak about other things, interesting technologies, and again, for the sake of just reaching out to different ecosystems, and hopefully we achieve our goal and make millions, and then go from there. Maybe go to the moon afterwards.
Sweet, man. That's amazing. Obviously sort yourself out first, and then have your cup full up, and then help others. I love it.
Yeah.
Listen, dude, before I let you go, I'd like to do 8 quick fire questions with my guests. Are you down?
No, absolutely not. I have to
No,
go.
you can't
I'm
do
kidding.
that.
No, I'm gonna go ahead. Good.
8 questions. Give me 1 word to 1 sentence. That's the most you can give. Quick
Okay.
5 questions. Here comes number 1. Best piece of advice you were ever given?
Best piece of advice that I was ever given: die before you quit.
Favorite food?
Sugar.
First ever crypto you bought?
Oh God, this is embarrassing. XRP.
Biggest celebrity teenage crush?
Oh, what's that girl from Community? Allison Marie.
I don't know.
You guys will know if you watch Community.
Number 1 piece of advice for no coiners?
Get your life together. Get into crypto.
One thing you haven't done yet, but you must do, something from the bucket list?
Find financial freedom. It's been the largest driving force in my life over the last couple of years, and so fucking do it, man.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Worst investment you ever made?
I forget the name, but there was a literal rug pull. I invested in a rug pull.
We've all been there, don't worry.
Yeah.
And last but not least, advice to your younger self?
It's the hardest things in life that are the things most worth doing.
Amazing. Listen, man, tell the folks at home where they can find you, all your social media channels.
Yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. Everyone subscribe to Liquid Loans. You could find me at A Million or the Moon on YouTube, and also a million _or _moon on Twitter as well. Subscribe, like, click all the buttons, and just say stuff, even if it's hate speech in the comments. The YouTube algorithm will love it. I'm kidding, guys. Don't do that. They'll get in trouble and they won't invite me back. So,
But
folks,
listen, man, I really enjoyed this. Hopefully this is the first of many. So
thank you.
stay in touch, dude. And yeah, definitely come back on soon.
Yeah, man. Great talk.
Listen, guys, Brandon, definitely go and follow him, A Million or the Moon. I love his YouTube content. And yeah, great guy, talks straight and gives the alpha. Guys, if you like content like this, do hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you're notified every time we drop new videos. You can also hit the like button, share the video with someone who you think it may benefit. And if you're feeling very cheeky, drop a comment below for the algo. And for everyone saying they love the Hawaiian shirt, why not? It's the summertime here in the UK. It only lasts a couple of weeks anyway. So I thought I'd get my style on, my floral pattern on. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day, evening, night, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.